What's going on, TF enthusiasts? This is RBG coming at you with a discussion on a Transformers reboot film. Since I did a video covering a rumored release of the next film in the series, more quote-unquote leaks have started to surface. And if I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I really didn't feel the need to do a video on this topic, because there's really not that much information to warrant me covering it. What I will say is that it somewhat confirms and consolidates some of the supposed leaks that we are on the cusp of an announcement for the new movie, because there seems to be a slew of information that keeps rolling out. And as I said in my other video, a few years back Paramount announced that they wanted to do a TF film on a yearly basis. And as of December 21st, 2019, it's officially been a year since Bumblebee was released in the theaters. So this would definitely be the perfect time to reveal something for a late 2020 or early 2021 release date. But anyways, as I was saying, I didn't think today's discussion was newsworthy, but you guys kept linking me to an article and asked me to talk about it. And that is the alleged leak of Megatron in the next film and his massive size difference compared to the likes of Optimus Prime. Now, right off the bat, we have to clarify something. This rumor is based off of a figure reveal that took place in Singapore, and there's not much to make of it outside of a silhouette, because apparently those in attendance couldn't take any pictures of the design. But you can just tell that this is the big booty Decepticon daddy himself, Megatron. There's just no mistaking that iconic frame. Besides him, we see what's obviously silhouettes of Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. The manufacturers at YOLO Park already revealed the Optimus Prime figure, and it's going to be fully posable with over 100 points of articulation. And he's said to be around 24 inches tall, which is pretty big for a Transformers figure. So there's no telling how big this figure of Megatron is going to be. Looking at the size chart, I'm guessing he's at least 30 inches, which is 6 inches taller than the Optimus Prime figure. And if we're going to go by their actual cinematic height, Optimus is around 17 feet tall. So if this thing is accurate, then that would mean this new Megatron could come in around 23 feet tall. That's pretty tall even by today's standards of live action scaling in the TF films. Because as you may have noticed, there's been a huge scale back in the new Bumblebee movie compared to those of the Bayverse. Some of the more obvious differences being Bee's actual size. We knew that he had been shrunken down from his previous version after seeing him squeeze into Charlie's house, but the actual sizes of his fellow Autobots were still up in the air. It wouldn't be until later where we realized that Bumblebee wasn't the only one who got downsized. Not only were the returning characters completely redesigned, they were over 10 feet shorter than their Bay counterparts, which is a massive difference because the Bayverse robots were giants. Like, that's not to say that Travis Knight's renditions weren't, but the previous incarnations were on a whole other level of huge. That's what basically added to their overall flair, because a lot of fans weren't used to seeing their favorite characters so large and in charge. And I'm not saying this was something that Michael Bay introduced to the franchise, because we've been seeing massive versions of the characters for years. Like the Unicron trilogy, Optimus was probably one of the tallest iterations. He got bigger with each installment like he was on Energon steroids. And don't get me started on Megatron, because he was twice as big as Optimus in those entries.
Come, Autobot, let's finish it.
Which brings me to my question/point. Is it really an issue if Megatron actually does turn out to be taller than Optimus in the new reboots? Because there seems to be some fans who are a little concerned about the size difference. For the most part, they've always measured around the same height, and this includes the Bay films. They're basically each other's equal in a sense. So seeing this custom change is going to be a bit of a letdown for those who are used to it, but I still think we should wait and see what they do with this concept if it's actually true. I kind of like the idea of Megatron being this superimposing Shadow of Colossus-like looking bastard. I'm more interested in seeing exactly what his alt mode is going to be. Are we going to get his traditional blaster form or his IDW tank form that we've only seen once in the Bay films? Something that's important to note about the Bay films is that the size of the robots always vary depending on what vehicle they chose to transform into. So if Optimus was going to pick a vehicle to amass his 28-foot body, it absolutely had to be the Peterbilt and Western Star trucks he scanned in the films, which were both 29 feet long. That's something Michael Bay was very adamant about when it came to mass shifting, and I think Travis Knight sort of ran with this philosophy because the sizes of the robots are somewhat consistent with the sizes of their vehicle forms. Like you see Bee with his 11-foot body frame transforming into a 13-foot long Volkswagen Beetle in the Solo movie, along with other things like a Jeep, which is very consistent. The only thing that was a little off was the fact that he still had the same body type when he transformed into the 77 Camaro at the end of the movie.
Are you telling me you could have been a Camaro this whole time?
That was strange considering the fact that Bayformers B had the same size vehicle, but he was 5 inches taller than his current version in robot mode.
You know what I don't understand? Why, if he's supposed to be like this super advanced robot, does he transform back into this piece of crap Camaro?
Oh, see, no, that doesn't work.
So yeah, they can be a little inconsistent, but I guess the Transformers can pick a vehicle form that is a little bigger than their actual robot form, but it can't be one that's smaller than them. Another instance of this philosophy is when we see the first Decepticon in action, Blitzwing. One would think that since he has that secret build that he'd be the same size as the likes of Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp. The traditional Seekers were said to be 15 feet in Bumblebee, but Blitzwing came out at around 18 feet, which is not only bigger than the other Seekers, he's one of the largest Decepticons in the film. So that size difference comes off confusing as well, especially since we saw him standing alongside the other Seekers and he was the same size as them. But if you think about it, his size may have increased once he got to Earth, because he scans and transforms into a F-4B Phantom, and those are usually around 58 feet long. So I'm thinking that Blitzwing may have had a size increase after scanning the F4 jet. So I can imagine if they wanted to use Megatron's IDW tank alt mode, they'd absolutely have to make him over 20 feet tall. But anyways, since this whole video has been dedicated to Megatron, I wanted to talk about something I mentioned in the last video. A lot of you were confused when I kept mentioning that Bumblebee's movie was a prequel to the Bay films and how they should have did things a little differently. And you even pointed out that the movie was a reboot, which it is. Bumblebee has in fact been confirmed to be a reboot, but I think we're missing one important detail here. When the film was being produced, it was made to be a spin-off prequel to the Bay films. This decision may have been made early in development because at the end of Bumblebee, Optimus Prime makes a cameo appearance on Earth. The 2007 Transformers movie suggests that Optimus Prime makes his first arrival to Earth during the film, and to keep continuity with the Bay films, Optimus Prime would have to leave Earth so he could arrive and come back later to meet Sam Witwicky. You also have other instances like the concept of Sector 7 being around. There was even a brief Easter egg where you see a young up-and-coming Agent Simmons. They were basically the secondary protagonists in the 07 film who were in the know of what the Transformers were, and they were also holding Megatron in their secret base hidden under the Hoover Dam. So we expected to see him in the movie or at least be in the after credits. But as you all know, it ultimately didn't happen. Travis Knight clarified that the appearance of Megatron would not make sense if Bumblebee is a prequel to Michael Bay's Transformers. So as you can blatantly see, this film had prequel written all over it, but things obviously changed since it's now a reboot. Something tells me that Paramount wasn't too sure how well the film would do, so they were depending on the Bay film's success to pull in more viewers while telling a somewhat new story. But Bumblebee ended up doing well, and something viewers appreciated was the more traditional designs and self-contained story. Plus it was a lot cheaper to make, which brings me to another point regarding the downsizing of the characters. A lot of the Bay movies' budget went into creating these massive CGI robots. Like before we got that huge CG battle from Avengers Endgame, the Bay Transformers movies were some of Industrial Light and Magic's most ambitious works. Things like Devastator from TF2 and the Driller Bot from TF3 are still some of the biggest projects they worked on. We're talking thousands of pieces that needed to be rendered 72 hours per frame. That's a lot of time and money, but since the robots were a lot smaller and didn't feature all the little details like the cogs and rotators, Bumblebee turned out to be the cheapest movie to make out of all of them. So they can essentially redo the designs while not having to spend extra money like the Bay films and praying that they break even at the box office. So yeah, but with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this video to a close. We still haven't gotten any details from Paramount themselves about all of this, but as I said, there have been a lot of things surfacing that makes it look like we'll be getting an announcement sooner than later, especially considering the fact that one of the supposed leaks mentioned that they revealed something this month. But what do you guys think of the alleged size difference between Megatron and Optimus Prime? Do you have an issue with it, or do you think it's even real? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on future videos. But if you really enjoyed it, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on social media. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.
Go back to the heart of the war.